Hey there, Turbo kids and parents. Well, here we are again doing our church service online. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. But today, Pastor Andrew is talking with the church about the passage in 1 Peter 2, which begins by saying, "Dear friends, I warn you as temporary residents and foreigners to keep away from worldly desires that wage war against your very souls." So I wanted to explore with you today what it means to be a temporary resident or a foreigner. Because as Christians here in this world, we know we belong with God in His kingdom. But we have to spend some time living here in a place where we'll probably have some trouble fitting in. This world is not actually our home. So a good illustration of this concept of being away from home that Peter is using in this passage is the word foreigner. A foreigner is a person who comes from a different country. So I have a person who is very special to me, who's actually living as a real life foreigner right now. And so I'd like to introduce you to my sister, Megan, who joins us from the other side of the world via Zoom right now. So Megan, where are you right now?
Right now I am in Chiba in Japan, and that is next to Tokyo.
Awesome. Okay, and so when and why did you move to Japan?
I moved here in February of 2017, and I moved here to teach English to school children.
Awesome. So what ages of the children that you usually teach?
Oh, all ages. It's not in a school, it's in a conversation school. So they come after school so that I can teach them. And they are 5 or 8 or even 12.
Awesome. Very cool. Similar ages to the Turbo kids. It's really cool. Yeah, and so living in Japan, like in what ways is Japan similar to Australia, where you come from originally?
Well, in Japan they do drive on the same side on the left, so that's something very similar. And in Japan, friends and family like to get together in parks in the spring and summer and have barbecues and hang out together.
And so in that case, so what's different about Japan than Australia?
Everything else is different. So everyone here is Japanese and they speak Japanese, and so many of the street signs and things on walls are in Japanese and I cannot read it.
I suppose that makes you a foreigner living in Japan. Is there a Japanese word for you as a foreigner?
As a foreigner, oh yes, it's called gaikokujin. And
Awesome.
That literally means outside country person.
And so for you as an Australian living in Japan, what do you find is the biggest difference between Australian culture and Japanese culture?
I see. Well, in Japan, people don't shake hands. They bow to one another. Okay, when you come into someone's house, you have to take off your shoes. It's not optional, you have to. And Japanese people use chopsticks instead of knives and forks.
And so is there anything that's like acceptable for Japanese people to do that you would probably never do as an Australian?
Well, they eat many different kinds of seafood, and that includes things like sea urchin, which they eat in sushi, which I don't think I could do. And also they slurp their noodles, which I think is a bit rude.
It's polite.
But they love doing that, and it is actually a sign of respect for how delicious the food is.
And so what restrictions do foreigners have in that Japanese citizens don't?
I think the most important one is, even if you do want to move here and learn about Japanese culture and learn the language fluently and live here for the rest of your life, if you are not Japanese, you can never really be Japanese. You cannot really become part of the culture here. You always look different, you always are different. So that's a big barrier between becoming Japanese in Japan. So,
Yeah. But in that, in that light, what opportunities do you think that you have that the Japanese citizens don't?
Well, as a foreigner, I grew up in a different country, so that's very interesting to them, and they like to learn about different cultures and different experiences. They like to learn about good pronunciation of English, and Japanese English teachers cannot really give them that experience and that knowledge. So my students like to learn that from me and learn about Australian culture too.
That's cool. It's cool. All right. And so, what do you think is the hardest thing about being an Australian living in Japan?
I miss my family and my friends, especially during the holiday seasons like Christmas or Easter. They don't celebrate Christmas here. There are Christmas decorations or songs in the shops, but it's not a holiday. People work on Christmas Day here.
So, do you think you'll stay in Japan forever or come back home eventually?
No, I don't want to stay in Japan forever. There are some people, some of my friends, they get married here and want to stay here with their families, but I don't really want to do that. I love Australia too much, and I do want to come home eventually, but I'll wait until I feel ready to come home and start my life in Australia again.
Cool.
Yes, I will come home.
All right. And so, what do you look forward to about coming home?
I want to hug my mom. I miss her. And during this time when I cannot come home because of the situation we're in now, I miss my family very much, especially my mum.
All right. Well, I'll give Mum a hug for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for helping us out today and telling us a little bit about what it's like living in a different country and being a little bit different. And so, yeah, thank you so much. And we'll wish you all the best. Stay safe. And thank you so much for your time today.
Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you very much.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
See you.
Bye.